Good morning and welcome to the live online Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign. I hope you enjoyed that lullaby to begin our morning together. Thank you, Juan. I am the Reverend Florence Caplow, the lead minister of this church, and I am so happy that you have chosen to be with us this morning and have found us or refound us if you are a visitor. You are so welcome here in this online space. Somehow we have stumbled out of the endless year 2020 and into 2021. New Year's blessings to all of you, all of us, as we go forward. Today, here in Central Illinois, we woke to the most beautiful light snow that had fallen during the night, like a little surprise for us in the morning. Every branch outlined with snow. And this after our rather exciting New Year's Day ice storm. So I think officially, finally, winter has arrived here with the new year. Although we are past the winter solstice and our days are slowly getting longer, it still feels like the afternoon grows dark very early. Many of us are still more or less stuck in our homes, waiting for that precious COVID-19 vaccine. And it has been 9 months since this all began. Politically, we are in a kind of limbo too this week. What are we to do with ourselves in this midwinter, have to stay mostly inside time? Hygge. That's right, Hygge. My friend, Pushin, given to me by a UUCUC family, wonders what I just said. Pushin wonders whether I might have choked on a mouse, or whether it's a new kind of fancy cat food. No, Hygge is a way of life from Scandinavia, who know, and of course the Scandinavians know a lot about long, dark winters. Hygge is a way of life characterized by simplicity, generosity, simple pleasures, and lots of candles. To really get into the spirit of Hygge for this service, maybe, and I'm hoping you are still in your pajamas and a nice fuzzy robe, or you have a blanket or shawl nearby that you could wrap yourself in during the service. Make sure that you also have warm socks and slippers, because warm feet are a very important part of the spirit of Hygge. Maybe if you live with other people or animals, you could get them to come and snuggle with you. Warm cups of tea, second cup of coffee, and a nice earthenware mug. And even though it's daylight, consider lighting a candle now or during our chalice lighting in a few moments. And welcome. Welcome on this first Sunday of 2021 to the Scandinavian spirit of simple coziness. Panacea for this time. But before we go on, each Sunday we spend a moment acknowledging the indigenous peoples of the land upon which we gather. And wherever you are in this country or the world this morning, please bring to mind the indigenous peoples of your place. And after I say these words, we will have a moment of silence. And if you'd like to follow along, the bottom of the order of service also has these words. We recognize and acknowledge that we gather today on indigenous lands taken through deception, coercion, and violence. We acknowledge the continued displacement and oppression of Native peoples and honor their commitments to survival, identity, and the protection of our world. And now, our chalice lighting, offered by Joe and Sandy Finnerty.
May this flickering flame remind us of the warmth within and around us, of the soft darkness of midwinter, and the windows shining through the night.
This is the time in our service when we like to include an element that's meant for people of all ages and stages to enjoy a story or something they can do along at home. Since today our service is centered around Hygge, which is a Danish word that is kind of hard to translate into English. It means an atmosphere of coziness and warmth, closeness, relaxation. It means kind of lots of different things that all come together into one feeling of Hygge. We wanted to give everyone a chance to start to think not just linguistically, but also physically about what it means as a concept. So if you want to follow along at home and create your own little Hygge corner for one of your friends, I'm going to give you some sensory steps you can follow. So today, I'm going to create a Hygge corner for these two little friends, Socks and Peeps. And right now, all they have is this bare cardboard box. And this was a ramen noodle box, but maybe you have a shoe box or an Amazon box that you could use for your Hygge corner. So that's obviously not very cozy in there. Let's see what we can do to change it. First, we're going to think about touch. They want something that's soft, like soft blanket, something that's warm. So we have some dishcloths. They're kind of like a blanket for a stuffed animal. So we're gonna put some nice blankets down in our box. See, that's looking cozier already. And maybe some pillows, because those are nice and soft and warm. So we're gonna take these nice knitted socks, which are already pretty cozy, and roll them up so there's some nice little cushions for Socks and Peeps to sit on. And let's see, how does that look? Pretty cozy, whoops. Pretty Hygge. But let's see, what other senses do we have? How about smell? Something that smells cozy. I have some cinnamon sticks. They smell very cozy to me. You might have some evergreen branches, some pine needles, or what else smells cozy to you? Maybe some good smelling soap, a bar of soap, or a candle. Speaking of candles, how about visually? How can we make a Hygge atmosphere visually? One way is to light some candles. So we have our little flameless tea light. It can be like a little campfire for Socks and Peeps. There you go. See, that's looking pretty cozy. And let's see. I think we can give them a little snack. What's a nice cozy snack that you can taste and feel Hygge? I have some little chocolate chips. That's like a little Hershey Kiss, but you know, stuffed animal size. So they can each have one, and one for me. And then let's see, I think the finishing touch, they should be wrapped up in some cozy warm blankets. Do you ever like wrapping yourself up in a blanket? We have some fabric washcloths with a nice fall pattern on them. And we're gonna wrap up our little bunnies cozy warm and tuck them into their little Hygge corner. There you go. How does yours look at home? I think it looks pretty Hygge.
I hope you enjoyed Reverend Sally's creation of a little Hygge nook for plushies, and it gave you some ideas about how you could create something like that for yourself or your own stuffed animals. Each Sunday, we bring our individual joys and sorrows to our time together. And this week, I know, has been challenging for many of us, many losses in the recent days. At this time, we sing a blessing song, and I invite you to sing along with it. Let the words wash over you as a blessing. And this is also an opportunity still to send in your joy or sorrow for today's service. Please enjoy our blessing song. Before I read some of the joys and sorrows that you have sent in this morning, I want to acknowledge that our dear congregation member, Jessica Augustin, lost her mother, Mary, to COVID this week, sending her all of our love and deep condolences. And also that our longtime member, Claire Zoke, has been in the hospital this week. Please send her love and best wishes and thoughts for her healing as well. I have a few others to read here. From Elizabeth Simpson. Sorrow at the loss of my dear friend's cat, Trouble. Trouble was an important part of my friend's heart healing, and she passed with love among friends. Joy at spending 3 hours outside with friends on New Year's Eve and not feeling cold, even at 28 degrees, with all the friendship. From Amy Hassinger, a joy. Joy for 2 happy weeks with our oldest child, Jamie, home from college. It was such a blessing to spend that good time together, even if we couldn't be with our extended family. From Jenny Hunt and Christy Mercer, a sorrow. Christy's older sister, Jean, passed Saturday morning, January 2nd. Her family was able to be with her, and she passed peacefully. And from Jerry Carden and Tim Temple. Tim's mother, Florence Temple, left us at 11 p.m. on New Year's Eve in her Urbana home. We were privileged to be with her and have Tim's sister, Deborah, help ease Florence's passing on speakerphone from St. Louis. She was 94 and had a very good life. Thanks to all for your kind words and caring thoughts. From Jim Hannum and Sandy. We are saddened by the death of Jessica Augustin's mother and Tim Temple's mother, as are so many. So this is from Mick. You all may know me by a few different names, Marie, Ree, or Mick McEnroe. Although I am not ready to share this with the world at large yet, I am ready to ask everyone at UUCUC to refer to me as Mick and use he, him pronouns. Though I'm facing a lot of challenges and uncertainty, this is overall a positive thing for me. For now, I am only sharing with close friends, family, and the UUCUC community. My hope is that you all can share in my excitement in this positive step forward. Congratulations, Mick. And from Karen Retzer, joy for the UUCUC meditation time and space on Sunday mornings before the service. Gratitude for all those who attend. And if you have sent in a joy or sorrow this morning that was not read, sometimes there are little delays, we will make sure, with your permission, to publish your joy or sorrow in the e-news so that it can be shared with our whole community. We will now have a time of meditation, reflection, holding all this and more in our hearts as Juan Camacho accompanies us with meditation music. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm that we are part of the interconnected web of life. This is our 7th UU principle. And in that spirit, each Sunday we lift up the ways that that connection is manifesting. In the spirit of our connections with each other, next week will be a service led by Sam Bashirs in honor of dogs, past and present, and particularly his dog Bingley, who passed earlier this year. If you have a picture of a current or former dog whose memory you would like to honor, please send it with the dog's name to Sam Bashirs, and his email address is bashirs@illinois.edu. And I hope that somebody will put this in the chat so that anyone who wants to send that to him can do so. And it will be included in a special part of the service. Also, one of our most beloved UUCUC traditions are our coffee houses. Opportunities where anyone, and I mean anyone, can sing or dance or play an instrument or I think we had a pretty incredible hula performance, or a hula hoop performance at our last coffee house. So if you have something, you could read a poem, anything that you want to share. Our next coffee house will actually kick off our generosity pledge campaign time on February 14th. So consider whether you want to offer something. It will be online. And Tegan and Artie are here to tell us more about it.
Hi everyone, it's Tegan
and Ernie,
and we're here to get you excited about our upcoming coffee house. We'll be kicking off our generosity campaign this February, and the submissions will be due on February 1st. So whether your talent is singing, dancing, or competitive knitting, it is time to dust off those needles, lace on those tap shoes, and get to work so that you can be ready to submit your videos. We'll release more information on where you can send your submission soon. But in the meantime, Artie has prepared a special composition to get you all inspired and excited. Take it away, Artie. Thanks, Artie. We look forward to hearing about all of your talents very soon.
Thanks so much for that demonstration of inclusiveness for our wonderful coffee houses. In the spirit of our interconnections with the larger community, I want to announce that this week we gave a check to Cunningham Township for our new Unitarian Universalist Utility Fund, which will prevent utility shutoffs and allow utilities to be turned back on for families throughout our community of Champaign-Urbana. And we were able to write a check for more than $7,000. That was from our Christmas Eve service and a few days afterwards. There's still, we will keep that opportunity to give to that fund open on our donations page, so you can go there and give anytime. But as well, we share our Sunday offerings each Sunday with an organization in alignment and connection with our values as Unitarian Universalists, and each month it's a different organization. This month is the Eastern Illinois Food Bank, and we have a brief video for you with an inside look at your food bank.
You're probably familiar with the Eastern Illinois Food Bank, but have you ever been inside? Even if you have visited our facility before, we've made some recent changes. At EIF's warehouse, we receive food from distributors, manufacturers, retailers, as well as the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The food bank partners with food pantries and feeding programs to distribute food to more than 55,000 people per month across our 18-county service area. Our network of more than 170 partner agencies order food through our online inventory system. Then the food bank staff assembles those orders, and our partner agencies can pick them up or our drivers can deliver them. We have a fleet of 6 trucks on the road Monday through Friday, and often on Saturday. And we have another 3 trucks on the way. Last year, Eastern Illinois Food Bank distributed 11.5 million pounds of product, which equates to 9.5 million meals. In a typical fiscal year, we distribute about 10 million pounds of food, but the final quarter of FY20 was not typical. The coronavirus pandemic radically altered the world around us, and food banks were no exception. Over the course of the pandemic, the demand for emergency food increased. From March to September, EIF and our partner agencies served more than 80,000 people who were new to our system. Feeding America projects the number of people facing food insecurity in our service area will go from 119,000 to 163,000 in the months ahead. So far, our network has been able to meet the demand. Throughout the pandemic, we have faced some challenges.
To keep up the rising demand, we've added truck routes and increased deliveries to our partner agencies. Our warehouse only has one functioning dock, which it was operating at full capacity before the pandemic.
In order to increase our capacity and serve more people, we are relocating our waste management system and converting from a 1-dock system to a 2-dock system. The dock openings will be reframed, new electric doors will be installed, dock levelers, bumpers, and controls will all be updated. The work will take approximately 3 weeks, and the trucks will have to work around this process. The pandemic has also provided EIF with new opportunities. We have been a part of the USDA's Farmers to Families Food Box program since May.
In that time, we've distributed more than 93,000 boxes of dairy, produce, and protein items. But all that extra refrigerated and frozen product has taxed our cold storage capabilities. In order to accommodate the product, we utilized 3 cold storage containers and rented 2 reefer trailers to make it happen.
While this is a viable temporary fix, these units are outside of our building, and loading and unloading them is inefficient and cumbersome. When it's raining or snowing, it's nearly impossible. The pandemic also limited our use of volunteers. The food bank and many of our partner agencies rely on volunteer labor. With the onset of the pandemic, we went from being able to accommodate 30 to 40 volunteers at one time to being able to safely accommodate 8 to 10. The pandemic has affected our partner agencies as well. Most of them are using a contact-free drive-through distribution model, and they are finding creative ways to accommodate clients. Some are allowing clients to shop by appointment, or giving them a list of items to select in a drive-through distribution.
A lot of the folks we were seeing had never been to a food pantry before. A lot of the people that we were used to seeing kind of stopped coming, so we're starting to see both of them come together. So we're seeing a little bit more increased numbers, and a lot of our older seniors and disabled folks that were having a really hard time with transportation and quite frankly scared to be out and about are now reaching out, and they're needing a lot of help.
These times and circumstances have tested everyone, but the Eastern Illinois Food Bank has risen to the challenge. A resounding thank you to our amazing staff, dedicated volunteers, and to you, our generous and supportive donors who make everything we do possible. With your continued support, we will meet the immediate needs caused by the pandemic while figuring out how to make changes to our facility so we can be a vital community resource for years to come.
Today's reading is a poem written by contemporary American poet Angie Holden, titled Neighbors, the Night the Lights Went Out, written in January 2016. Neighbors, the night the lights went out. She took a small canvas bag from the cupboard under the sink, filled it with an assortment of nightlights, vanilla, blueberry, winter spice, added a couple of dumpy glass holders, a box of matches, a bar of chocolate. The house on the corner was in darkness. The knock on the door answered with a tentative, "Who's there?" Years later, they laughed about the tea, the water boiled in a pan on the gas ring, the shortbread eaten straight from a tin intended as a Christmas gift, the chocolate eaten square by square, the shimmering candle flames shining light into the darkest corners. Here ends our reading.
I hadn't realized until I began to speak about our offering today, our Sunday shared offering, and also the Unitarian Universalist Utilities Fund, how closely these connect with the theme of this service, Hygge. Because Hygge is about staying warm and cozy and having nice things to eat. And that is only possible if you have heat and water and food. And so by supporting these initiatives, you are making it possible for families throughout our community to practice and experience a little Hygge in this long winter. You may already know that the sociologists that study happiness across many cultures and nations have consistently found that the Danish people are usually at the very, very top or close to the very top of levels of happiness society-wide of any country in the world. I think their secret may be, among other things, this spirit of Hygge, not just personally, but society-wide. Because Hygge is about decoupling happiness from status and wealth and consumerism. It's about slowing down, really slowing down and savoring the simplest things of our life. And in this way, actually creating a more egalitarian world in general. We know, a long way to go this winter in our houses. But what I'm thinking is that the cultivation of Hygge may make it just a little bit more enjoyable for us. And as I considered this Sunday, I realized I knew the perfect person to tell us more about Hygge, the Reverend Janet Elaine Guthrie. Not only is she a retired professor of Scandinavian language and culture, but I have spent enough time around Janet and her husband Mark and in their home to suspect that they have a practice of the deliberate cultivation of Hygge. So earlier in the week, I called Janet up on Zoom and we had a delightful conversation. I want to share a little bit of that with you now.
Well, good morning, Janet. It's wonderful to be chatting with you this morning. And when I decided that I wanted to do a service on, and you've just been teaching me how to say it properly, so I will try, Hygge, Hygge. I thought of you because of your background. And could you just say a little bit about why I might have thought of you?
Thank you, Florence. It's a delight to be with you. It is really hyggelig to be together, even on Zoom. And I think you called me because you know that as a young person, I left my home here in central Illinois as an exchange student at the age of 17 to spend a year in Denmark, where I learned Danish and really was welcomed into a Danish family. Later on, I went on to get a PhD in Scandinavian studies, and I taught Norwegian for many years, Scandinavian literature and Scandinavian culture. That was my first career. And most recently, I'm the retired pastor from First Mennonite Church. So I'm also very connected to your congregation in so many ways and have enjoyed our friendships and our connections in that way. So that's my background, and I continue to celebrate ties to Scandinavia and with my Danish sister from my exchange student program so many years ago now.
So let's start by pronunciation. So can you help us say this beautiful word with so many meanings in the way that they say it in Denmark, as close as we can get?
Okay, well, I'm going, probably it'll be Danish with some Norwegian pronunciation because they're very, very close, the two standard languages. Hygge is spelled Hygge, so he has a little bit of a sharp vowel sound, and then the two G's are going to get emphasis. So Hygge, and Hygge is a noun. It is also a verb, and it is used quite often to describe in a reflexive way that vi hygger oss, we are enjoying ourselves. We're having a delightful, cozy time. It's also an adjective in the sense of hyggelig, and that's used a lot to describe people, occasions, moods. It's a really central concept in Scandinavian culture. The closest synonym probably would be koselig, which we would recognize as expressing something that's cozy.
So this hyggelig, you say it's really central to Scandinavian culture. Is it associated particularly with winter or any time?
It's associated year-round, but it's important to remember that the Nordic countries are, very much on the periphery of Europe. They are lying far, far north. They experience the need to create a kind of coziness in a fairly extreme environment. Now, it's not as extreme temperature-wise as you might think if you think Arctic, because of the Gulf Stream, because of it being very maritime.
So that finding a way to create warmth and community and a feeling of coziness in the darkness is a big part of it.
It's a big part of it. Yes, it is. But as I say, you would use it year round. And the reason I want to stress that is because I think it goes to a set of cultural values about, first of all, taking time to be and appreciate the small beauties and the small joy, in life, in our domestic environments, as well as sort of adjacent in nature. And anchored in a kind of rhythm for the day, some what we might call small rituals. So it is really important when someone comes to visit, you're going to offer them coffee or tea, and you're going to light a candle, and you're going to serve a little something sweet if that's appropriate. And you will take some time and enjoy each other's company. Having your home environment with some greenery, with some plants, with the candles, with some other signs of beauty, or just the things that we would recognize as bringing bringing an appreciation and using all the senses, because if we think about it, we're bringing warmth to our bodies, and we're enjoying the food and something warm to drink perhaps, and what we can see and enjoy and hear. So all of those ways of kind of that embodied being, which is key, I think. Yeah. So you can have, your Hygge time just by yourself and take time for yourself. It's also very important as a way to express your friendship, your love, as you say, your community, to bring that forward. I was thinking too that this is expressed also in a more formal way. And I wanted to mention to you that I was so struck last winter when we were early spring, when we were all shaken by what needed to happen in response to COVID-19 and the pandemic. I listened to the King of Norway give his address to the nation about how the challenges would be met. And I was so impressed with the way he presented himself in a setting to evoke a comfort, a security, and a sense of, again, these communal values around what is Hygge. Instead of being in some formal office, as an American official might be, he was in almost a cabin setting. You could see the dark wood on the walls. He had a candle lit. There were fresh flowers on the desk where he sat. There were paintings. It was deliberately lit so that it would be an intimate, personal kind of message. And this was how he offered his words of consolation and hope to the people of Norway. And I thought, this is a perfect example of a society that is rooted in a kind of caring and a kind of attentiveness to these small details that don't require great wealth, but simply require that we pay attention, just as we want to pay attention and care for each other. So that sense of what we do for ourselves and what we do for others in those very small but very significant ways.
Hello again. I'm having a little sip of tea here. I have to tell you that there are only 3 of us here in the sanctuary this morning, and Steve Troyer, who is doing our AV this morning, was knitting during the video, which I thought was very, very Hygge of him. So just wanted to share that little bit of inside knowledge with you. One of the reasons that I am intrigued by the ideas of Hygge is I really see the connections with mindfulness, with a applied contemplative way of life. Hygge is taking mindfulness seriously as we go about our days, doing the ordinary things of our days, making the simplest moments of life a beautiful ritual. thinking back over the people in my life, I realized that I have known a few Hygge masters over my lifetime. I knew a couple as a child in Terre Haute who I now realize were Hygge masters. When I went to their house, I knew as a child that there would always be a homemade cookie waiting for me on a pretty little plate and a glass of lemonade. There was always time for a conversation with a child or a philosophical discussion or laughter. There was a lot of laughter in that household. When they traveled in the summer, they slept in farmers' fields rather than in hotels. Nothing was fancy in their house or with their clothing. Everything had been gleaned from secondhand stores, but everything was treated with love. And flowers bloomed in their garden all summer long. More recently, I got to know a wonderful UU couple in Western Colorado when I was serving a congregation there. Peter and Kate are both retired school teachers, not wealthy people at all. They built their log house themselves with their children over the summers. Visiting them was like stepping into the most comfortable pair of shoes you've ever worn. From the moment you stepped into their little mudroom lined neatly with boots and coats, and then stepped into their living room, there was a feeling of being embraced by their hospitality, by the redolent smells of whatever they were cooking, by the fire in the wood stove, the views out the windows. And often there would just be spontaneous sing-alongs or little musical gatherings that would happen just because people had stopped by their house. One of my most treasured memories from my year in Western Colorado was a moonlit cross-country ski experience from their house through the fields to an old log cabin, one of the original homestead cabins. It wasn't on their property, it was on a nearby ranch, but they had been taking care of it for years. And we brought dinner with us in backpacks and sat in this old log cabin at a big wooden trestle table by candlelight and ate a meal together before skiing back, me rather poorly, through the moonlit fields. It was an unforgettable experience of Hygge. Hygge, like so many other lovely ideas, has of course been co-opted by those who want to sell us very expensive scented candles or very expensive soft plush blankets. Don't fall for it. What my Hygge masters have taught me is that Hygge is the very opposite of consumerism. When we take time to love and enjoy life and the people around us, we are experiencing Hygge, and we didn't need to go to IKEA in order to do that. The Danes, as many of you know, I'm sure, are among also the most egalitarian societies in the world, with a social safety net so strong that very few fall through it. And what this means is that they actually have the time and the slowness of life to enjoy it. But I think even we here in America, even those of us struggling economically, can bring a little bit of the spirit of Hygge to our lives, whatever our circumstances. We can put down our devices. We can light a candle. We can look out the window at the snow. We can feel the softness of a blanket or a cat. I think cats might have mastered the art of Hygge to a great degree, and they can teach us. Often on Sunday mornings, I am running around like a crazy person trying to get last-minute things done for the service. Often I haven't had quite enough sleep the night before. Sometimes I don't manage to have breakfast. It's not a pretty picture. And this morning, I decided, in the spirit of Hygge, to try something a little different. So instead, I woke up this morning and I made myself a cup of tea and my favorite toast, this wonderful harvest bread toast with peanut butter slathered on it, and put it on my most beautiful little Italian hand-painted small plate. And I just sat in the living room for a while, looking at the snow. I didn't pick up my laptop, even though I wanted to keep working on this service. And I just enjoyed my toast and my tea. I put on a little early classical music. For me, the music of Vivaldi or Handel is the essence of Hygge for me. There was a fire going in my wood stove. I lit a candle. And then I turned towards my work that I wanted to do on this service. And it was a very different experience. It was an experience of peace and of feeling connected that I have seldom felt on a Sunday morning. So I must say that my Hygge experiment was well worth it, and I encourage you to see, even on your craziest mornings, whatever your equivalent of Sunday morning is, can you create a little bit of Hygge for yourself, for your family, for whoever is around you. In a moment, you will see a picture of my Hyggelig morning, followed by a beautiful lullaby from our choir from our Mother's Day service last year. Let the music rock your spirit.
Sweet my child, peace attend you all through the night. You shall hear you all through the night. Soft are drowsy hours of reading.
Pusheen and I wish for you that you find a little Hygge in this new year. Blessings to all.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.